Hello again and welcome to another episode of Nigeria's premier think show, Think About It. I'm your host, Dear Durand. Think About It is Nigeria's premier think show. It provides a platform for individuals to process salient lifestyle topics that affect our community, our society, and ultimately our nation. What exactly is a think show? A think show is a radio program where you, our audience, will get to actively participate in the topics of discussion shared by the host, which is me. Every week on Think About It, I will be engaging your minds to rationally and objectively evaluate the topic of discussion. For those of you who tuned in last week, I want to say thank you once again for being a part of the show. This week promises to be even more interesting. I don't know about you, but I'm eager and ready to continue our discussion with our Think expert from last week. Remember him? Dr. Akin Odubitan. Dr. Akin is a medical doctor, a medical literacy expert, and a thinking skills advocate. Welcome once again to Think About It, Doc.
Glad to be here. Hello, Nigeria.
Hello, Nigeria. Okay, Dr. Odubitan has a book called Common Errors in Thinking, and we're going to start off from that. I really would like to know, Doc, why? Why would you write a book like that?
Because I teach thinking. It's often difficult to get across to people concerning the nature of my work.
Okay.
Without showing them the flaws of their current thinking model. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a businessman, you're a management person.
I'm not thinking, really.
I mean, you've gotten as far as you have gotten in everything you have been doing in your life before I ever showed up on the scene. So how dare I come and say, I agree. I want to teach, I'm teaching thinking skills. But you probably met people who may not have your degree of native intelligence or your degree of natural talent.
What's native?
At thinking or intelligent. You know, all of us know people like that.
Yeah.
You know that maybe in school.
Okay, they're
that
natural.
That guy is good. You know, so natural. He's a natural at that thing. The guy is, there's something about him.
Yes.
Either the speed at which the person solves problems or the method through which the person solves problems. Something about that person just stands out.
Right.
So the person has a natural talent at thinking effectively.
Okay.
But irrespective of the person, everyone can think better. In as much as there is a place called better in anything you're doing. Whether as a business owner, as a middle-level manager, as a senior-level manager, in public sector, in private sector, if there's a place called better, you can be there.
Right.
And one of the strongest, clearest, and most authentic and reliable ways to get to that better place is by improving your thinking skills.
Right.
And this you can do easily by using thinking tools.
Right.
So when I wrote the book, Common Errors in Thinking, it was to showcase and highlight simple thinking mistakes that people like me and you make sometimes every day.
Wow.
So I remember in school, one of my teachers used to say, is the patient getting better because of you or in spite of you? So I can ask you that question. Have you gotten to where you've gotten in spite of you or because of you? Because yes, sometimes you are where you are, but you shouldn't be there. You should probably be higher.
Right.
You know, there's enough space in the sky. There's a new mountain top. There's always a new
horizon.
height. And do you want to grow fast? Do you want to grow faster? Do you want to get there quicker? Do you want to be more efficient as a person, as an organization, as a country? Then the onus is on me and you to think better. One of the best ways I can teach people thinking better is to show them the problems with the ways we think now.
Yeah, deal with it from the roots.
Yes. So in my book, Common Errors in Thinking, I highlight 9 different thinking errors.
Wow.
9 different thinking errors. One of the errors is something we call snap judgment. So more often than not, when you tell someone, oh, let's think about something, the first thing the person does is makes a judgment about something. So, China has a one-child policy. That's rubbish. Those people, they don't have any sense. Who will take care of them? Or, that's very good. Oh, do you know how many Chinese people in the world? Listen, what you've done is you've made a judgment. We didn't say make a judgment. We said, what do you think about it? So many times we do not slow down enough to actually think about a subject before we make a call about that subject. And that is one of the common errors in thinking called snap judgment. In my experience, it is the commonest thinking error, and it is the most prevalent thinking error, and it's across the social classes. It's not about who is intelligent or who is not intelligent, or the rich people think like this. No. Across demographics.
Why is that?
Male, female, senior, educated, uneducated.
Why do you think that is?
Because it's partly because of the way we grew up. So in the societies we grew up and, our culture.
Yeah.
Our culture, especially the westernized culture, is built on what we call inThinking patterns. Clash system. It's based on clash system. So you need to show me you are right. So because you need to show me you're right, I start from a place that is defensive.
I'm so glad you're talking about this, because it was really one of the things that caused me to think about the program, think about it. Yeah, because for me, I didn't know it was even deeper than this. But one of the core for me was, I think we're just careless with our speech. I just thought it was just emotions. You just throw your emotions out. You're not coming down to process. But I didn't even know it was even deeper than,
So there's a body of knowledge around it. Snap judgment is the commonest thinking error across demographics, age, race, religion, gender, ethnicity, tribe, and what have you. So when we talk about thinking, for example, it's something called the left hand of thinking. Left hand of thinking is the destructive hand of thinking, or what is often called analytical thinking or critical thinking. It's the left side. Analysis is about breaking things down. Analysis is about, chipping away at the flaws to reveal the beauty. So when you now see somebody is overly critical, is that the person
has thrown away the bathwater and the baby.
Yes, he doesn't know how to remove the unnecessary to leave the necessary. All he knows is an excellent butcher. So he's excellent at tearing things down.
Oh my gosh.
Not realizing that the purpose of tearing things down is to discover what should be kept still. And that's what we call the left hand of thinking. The right hand of thinking is what is popularly referred to as creative thinking. That is about synthesis. So while analytical thinking is about breaking stuff down, creative thinking is about building stuff up. It's about bringing a little from here, bringing a little from there, and weaving something new. Creative thinking. It's what we call the right hand of thinking. The left hand is analytical and destructive. The right hand of thinking is creative and nurturing.
My goodness, so much to digest, but let's take a short break now, and we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. I'm Dear Durand, and you're still listening to Think About It. Before we went on a break, Dr. Aki Ondubiton, who is currently our tutor and our Think expert on the program, he and I were discussing his book, Common Errors in Thinking. Now that we know some of the errors that we have, I'm curious to know, where did the errors come from? And more importantly, how do we correct them?
The first step in correcting them, irrespective of where they come from. Now, and that's and that's another thing. People are so interested in origins and beginnings and history.
Yes.
Which I have often found is of limited value as compared to destination, purpose, reason, and design. So, what happened? How did this? That's irrelevant. Is that really what you want? Do you want to commit 5 months of thinking time to how we got here?
Yeah, but
do you want to commit 5 months of thinking time to where do we want to be?
I hear you, but I've always thought that you would go back. Hindsight is one of the ways you can use to move ahead.
So yes, there is a lot of value in hindsight.
Yes.
But the value in foresight is way higher. The longer you spend in hindsight, the shorter you have for foresight.
Wow.
And by the time you finish your hindsight, you are still where you were before you started your hindsight journey.
Wow.
Meanwhile, somebody who will spend that same time in foresight, his trajectory is already different.
Right.
Because he's more focused with where do you want to be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to VI. It doesn't matter that how did I get to Kurodu? How did I get to where did I? It doesn't matter whether you slept in the BRT, whether that the Uber driver, Kaiju driver.
I'm convinced.
Where am I now?
Convinced. That is awesome.
Okay,
how do I get out of here? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So just this.
Okay, I hear you.
So and there are many reasons why we got here. There are many reasons from westernization and Western influence, from even African traditional cultures, from our loss of cultural values because of the colonialization, to the illusion of scarcity as represented by behavioral economics. And there's that you can sit down and do an entire 2-3 hours on.
How do we correct this?
So one of the ways we can improve our thinking skills is by using thinking tools in our thinking exercises. Practice using thinking tools in thinking exercises.
Right.
Practice.
Okay.
Especially when there's not a lot at stake, until
Yes.
it is habituated. When it's habituated and becomes your default method of thinking, you are already head and shoulders above other people.
My goodness. Look at the time. We have to go. But we're not going to go without taking away with us one thinking tool called the PMI. Dr. A, please tell us about this PMI.
The PMI thinking tool is really an acronym. P means plus, M means minus, and I means interesting. And it's so important because a lot of people tend to look in the world as black and white. But in between black and white are the 50 shades of grey. In between black and white are the 7 colors of the rainbow. The world is bigger and wider and broader than our limited capacities to embrace it all. But the willingness to expand our paradigms, to embrace them, is the premise behind the thinking tool PMI.
So give me a practical example of PMI, use any example.
Usually my seminars I ask them, what do you think about the idea that marriage should be a 5-year renewable contract? And people came up with positive points. Wow. Now, yes, if marriage was a 5-year renewable contract, maybe people would be more serious. I mean, I've had all sorts, fantastic ideas, positives. Minuses, people don't ask things like, then what about the children? I haven't heard people say for positive that, the courts will make more money because every 5 years you come and do a new generation for the country. And then someone say, what about the children? What's the impact of the
in-laws? How many in-laws will you have?
And that's not that interesting. So on that interesting, people have said, so what happens to, because every legitimate, after renewable, we say we are not renewing. But guess what? In engaging that topic using PMI, it became a more constructive conversation than it would ordinarily be without using PMI.
Yes.
So without using PMI, because
it's a snap judgment
or bad.
Yes.
No. Yes. Never.
Right.
But by using PMI, it became a refreshing.
It was a discussion.
It became a discussion. It became a conversation.
Oh my God.
There was banter. There was fun. There was play. There was introspection because we used PMI.
Time really does fly when you're having fun. When you are learning correctly, and truly I must say I have been informed, and I hope you have too. We will certainly continue our learning next week as Dr. Akin Odubiton, our Think expert, is still going to be here with us, but this time he's going to teach us a slightly more advanced thinking tool by the renowned physician, psychologist, and author, just to mention a few of his titles, Dr. Edward de Bono, popularly known for his books, Literal Thinking, Parallel Thinking, The 6 Thinking Hats. At this time, we have to go. Thank you, Dr. Akin Odubiton. I'm looking forward to next week. A big thank you to you, our listeners. I look forward to learning along with you and with our tutor and think expert, Dr. Akin Odubiton. Feel free to send me your feedback, comments, questions about the program on our Facebook page and Instagram. Bye for now.